Most of us, bereavement will be one of the most distressing experiences we will ever face. The grief we feel when someone close to us dies can be overwhelming at times. The sense of pain and loss can strike very deep. The COVID-19 pandemic means that whatever the cause of death, you are dealing with both grief and an unprecedented situation. The virus has stopped people having an opportunity to be with someone who is dying or to say goodbye in person. It has led to restrictions on the type of funeral and the numbers that can attend. It has cut bereaved people off from their usual support networks, with family and friends unable to visit to provide comfort and help. These are unprecedented times which bring extra challenges to anyone bereaved. Cruse Bereavement Care is here for you, providing somewhere to turn when someone dies. We hope that this presentation will help you to understand your bereavement, how it might affect you physically and mentally, and find ways of taking care of yourself and accessing support. Grief has been described as like waves on the beach. Sometimes they lap gently around you. At other times they can come crashing in and knock you off your feet. At its worst, it can be like a tsunami enveloping your whole body. Grief can be unpredictable and can overwhelm you when you least expect it. You may feel as if you can't control it. Grief is our response to loss. Everyone's experience is unique. Each experiences it differently. There is no normal or right way to grieve. Perhaps you can see how even within your own family, people react to the same loss in very different ways. Grief can affect us mentally and physically, impacting every part of our lives and affecting our feelings, thoughts, and behaviour. Feelings are unpredictable in grief, but some of the more common ones are shock, sadness, yearning, anger, guilt, isolation, and vulnerability. People who experience a significant loss often talk about an initial period of shock, numbness, or disbelief. This is a very normal defense mechanism as your mind tries to protect you from being overwhelmed. This allows you time to take in what has happened when you are able to. You may experience these feelings if, for example, someone has died from COVID-19 and the illness may have progressed and become serious very quickly, or if someone was killed in a road crash. But you may also experience it even if the person who has died had been ill for some time. Not being present at the death and being able to view their body can make it very difficult to accept that the death has really happened. Sadness can feel overwhelming, and you can yearn for the physical closeness of your loved one. Many people feel angry, but don't always talk about it. It's normal and understandable for you to feel angry, for example, at the situation you're in, with the medical world, with the rest of your family, with the person who has died, with the whole world, with your God if you believe, and with yourself. You may have felt some degree of relief, especially if the death follows a long illness or it was a very conflicted relationship. It is possible to feel relief that someone is no longer in pain, while also feeling angry and sad that they are no longer alive. Feelings of relief or anger might then lead to feelings of guilt. Guilt is a very common reaction to loss, as people often feel that somehow they should have predicted or even prevented the death of the person they are grieving for. Many people feel guilty that they did not get a chance to say goodbye, or that they were not with the person when they died. This will be particularly the case now with the restrictions due to COVID-19. Being bereaved can be an extremely lonely time, and isolation due to the current situation can make these feelings of loneliness and grief even more intense. You may be staying alone in the same house that you shared with the person who has died, bringing up painful reminders at every turn. You and your family may be isolated together, and although at times this might be a support, at other times tensions and resentments can be magnified, making it difficult for you to help each other. If children and teenagers are isolated, it may be difficult for you to keep them occupied and deal with your own emotions and fears, as well as supporting them in their grief. Isolation can make it harder to grieve. At times like this, when there is a constant stream of new and distressing information, people can find themselves distracted from dealing with and expressing their grief. You may be worrying about yourself and all those close to you, as well as the situation as a whole. Friends and relatives who might otherwise have been able to provide some practical help, for example with meals and shopping, may not now be able to do this, even though they would want to. They may also be preoccupied with their own family situation. When you've experienced a bereavement, the world can feel a very unsafe place, and you feel anxious and vulnerable. Again, the current situation can make these feelings of vulnerability even worse and lead to worry, anxiety, and fear. None of these feelings are wrong or unnatural. They are normal reactions to grief in a world facing challenges never faced on this scale before. Bereavement can affect your thoughts. As well as finding it hard to believe what has happened, you may feel confused, unable to think straight, preoccupied. You may keep trying to make sense of something that often seems senseless, asking why did it have to happen? You may go over and over events surrounding the death, thinking, if only. It is very common to see, hear, or feel the presence of someone who has died. In the early days, it could be hard to think of the person in happier times. Bereavement can affect you physically. Grief is not an illness, but it can make you feel ill. You might, for example, experience headaches, tightness in your chest, indigestion, diarrhea, nausea, and breathlessness. You may suffer insomnia or find yourself sleeping too much. You might have disturbing dreams. It's common to feel exhausted, lacking energy and motivation. But you may feel hyperactive and restless, being unable to relax or sit still. You may lose your appetite and lose weight. Or you may find yourself overeating and put weight on. Bereavement also impacts on behaviour. After bereavement, it is common to want to withdraw socially and to isolate yourself from others, to feel detached and disinterested in your usual activities and interests. You may feel suspicious, irritable, and even hostile towards others. You may try to avoid reminders of the person, for instance, not buying food the person liked to eat, and not watching a TV program they enjoyed. On the other hand, you may treasure objects that belong to them and not want to move any or have a clear out of anything which they owned. It's a long list of common responses and effects, all of which are intertwined. Individuals will not necessarily experience each or all of the feelings, thoughts, physical sensations and behaviours we've talked about here, but it can be helpful to understand some of the common reactions to grief. Everyone, as we said, experiences grief differently. There is no normal or right way to grieve. Some people may appear to be able to carry on as normal, while others may feel as if they are falling apart. We'd like grief to be linear, a straight road where we know what's coming next, but it's not like that. It's complicated, it's messy, it's tangled. Not everyone experiences the same reactions. Some will be felt more strongly than others, and they can come in any order or be all mixed up. The feelings you have and what happens to you when you are grieving can feel very unnatural, strange, and frightening. Bereaved people often ask us at Cruse, am I going mad? Or am I doing this right? Please be reassured, you are not losing your mind. You are going through the grieving process, and it's a journey into the unknown. It does, however, have a purpose, and it will become less overwhelming and less difficult to cope with as you move through that process. The level of pain you're feeling now will not last forever. People have an expectation that grief diminishes through time. Grief, however, is always there, as you will always miss that person. This slide shows how grief, the red circle in the middle, totally overwhelms life in the beginning, but gradually life grows around the grief. You can have a bad day and revisit the grief, but the next day you can have a better day as life continues to grow around the grief. Life expands as you find a new normal. In this way, you continue the process of integrating the loss of your loved one into your life, moving forward and taking that loved one with you in your heart. Grief can operate in two main ways, loss-oriented and life-oriented, and you go between them as you are grieving. The things that make you think of your loved one and their death are within the loss side. The life side includes things that let you get on with your daily life, like cleaning the house or any other activity that distracts you from your grief. But we can move between the two aspects really quickly. You may be watching a TV program, for example, which has distracted you for a while. The adverts come on and something reminds you of your loved one. You go back into the lost side when you cry for a while, but then you decide to go into the garden to get some fresh air and you're back into the life side. It's normal to move between intense grieving and look into the future after someone dies. Movement between loss and life, which can be erratic, is essential and a normal and healthy way to grieve, in contrast with someone who stays permanently within the loss side or the life side. The movement between the two may occur during the course of a day, a week, a month, or even a year. Everyone is different. However, when the loss is expressed and recognised, it will eventually be integrated into the new normal of the person's everyday life. Theories and models of grief have been developed by academics attempting to capture and summarise what people who are bereaved have told them about their grief. And as such, all of them have value. Pick the one or ones that have meaning and help you. Don't bother about the ones that don't. As you get through hour by hour, day by day, dealing with such a range of feelings, there may also be many practical problems, from who will look after the children or elderly relatives, keeping a job going, to facing difficulties with money. You're dealing with all of these pressures at a time when, because of your grief, you feel least able to cope with them. The person who died may have been the person who always provided you with physical and emotional support, and you've been left without it at the time you need it most. So it's vitally important that you take care of yourself. Talking with family and friends can be one of the most helpful ways to cope after someone close to us dies. Cruse advice is usually to avoid isolating yourself, but we're in a situation where we're all being told to self-isolate and cut all but essential physical contact with others. Although you may not be able to see people in person, you can keep in touch with them. It's really important to still connect with others, for example, through telephone, Skype, FaceTime, however you can. Join WhatsApp and online groups. Reach out to feel connected. Look after yourself, getting some rest. Try to get some fresh air or sunlight each day, even opening a window can help. Try to keep a regular routine of getting up and dressed, eating meals, connecting to others, and sleeping, whether you're on your own or living with others. At times when you have more energy, you might want to find some jobs to do around your home or garden if you have one. Eat healthily. It's very important to keep energy levels up. Eat little and often if you have no appetite. Exercise. If you are able to get out once a day, go for a walk. If you're self-isolating at home, walk around your back garden if you have one and get some fresh air. If you can't get out, try and do some exercise at home. Be kind to and take care of yourself. Don't feel guilty if you're struggling. Reach out to others who might be finding it difficult too. You may be able to help each other. And seek help from friends, family or neighbours or support organisations. When you're bereaved, some days with special meaning can be particularly hard. This might be, for example, a birthday or an anniversary. It may be especially hard at this time, as you may have wanted to visit the grave, where the ashes are scattered, or a place that has special meaning for you. If a day like this is approaching, it can be helpful to be prepared, having a plan for how you're going to spend the day. This might include contacting particular people, lighting a candle, spending time in the garden, looking at photographs, or listening to music. It's important to think about the memories we have of the person, to talk about them with others who knew them, and to share stories. Do what is right for you. Think about the support you have around you already. If you are offered help by family and friends, do take it. Even if you are self-isolating, they may be able to help by making dinner, getting some shopping, and providing a listening ear. If you are part of a faith community, talk to your faith leader or someone in your network. If you're feeling very distressed, share your feelings with someone that you trust. Your GP is normally the first port of call for access to more specialist services, but at the present time there may be additional delays because of the pressure GPs are currently under. You can contact Cruse for advice on next steps. Look online as services are providing a range of support in different ways. Mind has useful advice about helping your well-being, including coping with self-isolation. Free 24-hour help is available for anyone living in Northern Ireland from Lifeline, and of course there's the Samaritans. Cruse has a signposting pack which includes the contact details of key organisations and support agencies, and more comprehensive information is available from the Cruse National Helpline. At present, to ensure everyone's safety, Cruse services have been adapted. The following services are offered. Telephone support. A bereavement volunteer will contact you at a set time and day for up to 6 weeks. This gives you the opportunity to talk about your bereavement and to understand the bereavement journey. Telephone 0808 808 1677. Email support. You can email Cruse at helpline@cruse.org.uk and a bereavement volunteer will reply to you. There's a wealth of information on the Cruse website, including all our leaflets, top tips on taking care of yourself, and you can also read the stories of bereaved people who've had support. The Hope Again website. This is for children from the age of 8 upwards and young people. There are vlogs, stories from other young people who've been bereaved. There's also an option for email support, and all emails are answered by a young person who themselves have been bereaved. It is possible to find strength that you didn't know you had, and to find support that you never knew existed.